Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. More, hate less, read comics. It's Blake's Buzz Live.
Buzz, buzz, babies.
Hey, buzz, babies. Happy new comic book day, everybody. Hope it's been a good one for you. Yeah, we're doing another live show, and I've got quite the guest. I know a lot of you have read his stuff before. I've read some of his stuff before. People are talking about him. He's got some new stuff we're going to talk about, but I'm excited because we're going to go back in time for some of us, because I'm 38. I'm getting up there. I'm finding gray hairs in weird places, right? And I know some of you that watch me, you're also getting older, right? But tonight we're gonna go back to high school. We're gonna talk about prom, and we're gonna talk about ninjas. I know it's a universal story we've all experienced. Tonight, everybody, I have the comic books' Kyle Starks in the house. My goodness. I didn't tell you in front of a live audience, Kyle. We have a very excited group here tonight. Very, very stoked to have you on, sir. I have been a big fan of your stuff for a while. So I think what is it? You and Erica's Assassination Nation. I like I can't ever say it right. But
everyone says it that way. I don't know, but yes, that one, that book, yes.
But I think that was one of the first things I've read from you. And it's so great. And then you guys did like that extra one shot in that like image anthology
the
thing.
Skybound X, yeah.
Yeah, and then people kind of started are like, are gonna do more, they're gonna do more, and then you guys have both done a million other things since then. Yeah. But it is cool, and if it ever did come back, I would be excited. But exploring your work, sir, has been a joy. And when some of my friends, when I told them we were doing this chat tonight, they were like, "Oh, dude, you got to fire up the Marvel app, read Unleashed, right?" Because everybody knows I love dogs. Yeah. I love dogs.
Oh, wow.
And
I got some dog stuff for you then.
Yeah. Oh man, they were like, bet you didn't expect to cry reading that. And I was like, nope, issue 1. Like I knew something was gonna hit me. Also, issue 1 made me cry a little bit because just the whole deal of like every dog deserves to be called a good dog. I'm shaking. I can't. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're a great writer. Long story short, long-winded. But you're doing really, really cool stuff. And this new one, you've had some interesting stuff. You wrote Peacemaker, right? And had a crude, fun blast in that. I Hate This Place, that had a whole other alternate title that was a little edgier, right? And then now and you did you're the serial killer
Where Monsters Lie.
Yes, the neighborhood.
Yes. Very gross, very violent,
and but all very humorous and quirky. But now you're out in the streets promoting a new all ages title, Karate Prom. Look, got a copy
from First Second. It's the hardcover too.
Ooh, that's a nice hardcover.
I'm about to burp in public. It is a good one. Yeah, whatever. Karate Prom. My wife is always like, when are you going to make something your daughters can read? And I said, I guess when they're 18, but they could read this one if they wanted to. So, but that's more fortuitous than by like intent. I wasn't so much like, let's make an all ages book. It just kind of happened with the nature of the book. I did the book for Free Comic Book Day over the pandemic. Do you know the story?
No, I don't.
I don't know if everyone knows this. So over lockdown.
Well, hold on. First, there was a pandemic.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It was a bad joke.
Yeah. 2020, I think it's more like when did it happen? Time's tough. I think it's 2020. And during the lockdown, I think a lot of us comic creators were probably hit pretty hard just because there's no shows, there's no comic printings anyway. And I'm going to do it short because I can be long-winded. But basically, I was like, I thought we needed Free Comic Book Day. I think it would make everyone just be a little happier. And so I was like, well, I'll just do like an 8-page, like nothing, and I'll give it away for free. And I didn't want to put a lot of thought into it, so I did like a Twitter poll. I was like, what should the title of this thing I give away for free is? And I got all these great titles, and I let people vote. Obviously, Karate Prom won because Karate Prom is the greatest title for anything in the history of any title. and I ended up doing 32 or 36 pages in 10 days. In 10 days, I did 32 or 36 pages. It just came out of me, and I gave it for free. So there wasn't like I was like, I want to make an all ages book, because I think that first version probably has some cusses in it. It's my second book ever with no cusses. I'm very proud of that. I don't know. Marvel Unleashed also has no cusses, and Marvel Unleashed is also what I'm going to say is all ages. It's for anyone could read and enjoy. So it's like, it feels like a book we're going, oh, this is a teen. It's a teen book, but it's not. It's just a 80s action movie without any profanity in it.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
You know, it reminded me of, like, oddly enough, it reminded me of like the Kill Bill, the Crazy 88 scene.
Oh,
you know, like,
yeah,
because I was like,
that.
I initially, right, I the way it's initially structured, I thought, because when prom's happening, you know, it's almost, it's like what, 180 something pages, right? And so you're fairly early on at prom, and I was like,
going to prom quick.
Is this just going to be like a crazy, like, because you find out the plot, right? That there's the angry exes are like hiring thugs and goons to ruin the lovebirds' special night, right? And and like, I was like, is it just going to be like this huge, like, fast-paced, giant panel, like manga-esque, crazy prom fight scene? Which it was part of it.
It is a little bit,
but
I like not the whole book, whole book. Yeah,
yeah. It goes places. Yeah, and I liked
that. It starts with karate prom,
and there's some time jumps. Yeah, it starts with the prom, and then it goes into after prom, and then it goes into. I don't want to say too much, but it goes into, they're like, things are different in part 3, right?
Yeah.
And luckily,
everyone's got a little arc.
Yeah, and you had to throw some roadblocks. They can't have a perfect love story, right? They can't just They can't just kick ass and make out and or what do they call it? Kissing shenanigans. They can't just have the kissing shenanigans.
Well, like a good love, like a good fight, there must be obstacles to overcome to really prove the worth and value of it. So you have to throw something in there. I'm pretty pleased, even because like I think so often things like that where there's a hiccup, it's always done as as a drama or as a conflict, but it's sort of like an adult decision made that just doesn't work out for everyone. I like how it's very sort of it's not dramatic or mean or petty or childish. It's just certain things had to happen because they're for the best of everybody, and then of course it all works out. Spoilers, it all works out in the end.
Yeah, it's
not a bummer book. It's not a downer.
Yeah, any animals that come or leave safely. It wasn't like the scary movie I just watched and reviewed over at Geek Network, where I had to go find my dogs after and give them a hug and be like, "Oh, you're still here. I love you." But yeah, we just adopted a new one. We just brought home a wrinkly, grumpy looking pit bull. She's got like a grumpy face. It's like a naturally grumpy face, right? And her and Bruce are just now. I mean, we had to bring Bruce and introduce them and stuff and make sure they didn't fight, but they're starting to get along and play better. And so yeah, I just like very much like I always loved dogs, but like the dogs are I don't have kids or anything, right? So like the new sister's home and we're like life is different now.
Sure.
And then I read and my buddy's like, "Oh, you got to read Unleashed before you talk to," and I was just like, "Oh my God, dude, you're very good at pulling heartstrings." Like,
well, you try to get. You want people to go on a ride. You want them to go on a fun ride. I love all pets, but I am a huge dog guy.
Nice.
Last year I introduced 2 new dog characters to Marvel and DC. I made Peacemaker's dog Bruce Wayne, and I made D-Dog for Marvel Unleashed. And Where Monsters Lie, there was a dog in everything I did last year. Even the last thing I did in 2024 was Wild Dog for Brave and the Bold, where it's not literally a dog; he is a dog in name. So it feels like it's like when I first started, almost every book had Hitman in it, and my wife was like, "Is every book going to have a Hitman in it?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess not." So I'm taking a small break from putting a dog in everything, but it's very hard. Dogs make things better. They universally make things better. So I like them in there. Marvel Unleashed was a lot. That's a lot of dogs, a lot of good dogs.
Dogs, cats, birds, frogs, lots of stuff. I feel like that was I feel like that was a fun. I felt like you were having a lot of fun writing that. Art was super great.
Dude,
Real
Chess
solid
Hervas
four
was
issue.
unbelievable.
So
Yeah.
good.
Also, all the artists I worked with last year were unbelievable. Artyom on I Hate This Place, Peter Kowalski on Where Monsters Lie,
Yeah.
Chess Hervas on Marvel Unleashed. Marvel Unleashed was criminally underread, so we can keep saying that. More people. I think if you have dogs or you have pets, I think it's a really good. I think it's a great book.
Yeah. Or if you love Lockjaw,
Um,
like if you just fucking love Lockjaw, like it's just
yeah,
like
if only
Aussies in
they
there.
need
Like,
more. If you're like, why isn't Pizza Dog in the comp? Why isn't Lucky the Pizza Dog? Steve Pugh is of course on Peacemaker, just a goat artist. And
yeah.
Fernando Passeron on Wild Dog, that Brave and the Bold was unreal. I've been very lucky with artists. So,
You
but
have
Chess
been.
Hervas, I was like, he's too good. He's too good to be drawing these dogs. Like, what the heck? He did a great job. It's unbelievable.
It's a weird time for like animal, but like I feel there's like maybe I don't know if it's a resurgence or maybe I never paid attention to him. But there
No,
was
someone told me, someone said
sorry.
I was ahead of the curve or something. Like, you're ahead of the curve on dog comics. I'm like, I don't know what you mean. Like, I'm always trying to put a dog in there. In fact, I suspect every book I have, there's at some point a discussion. Like, I'm like, how can I get the dog? Or if I drew it, there's not a dog because I can't draw them very well. But I know, like, we did one of the first books I did is Dead of Winter, which is ostensibly Rin Tin Tin versus the zombie apocalypse,
Okay.
with that dog named Sparky fighting zombies. Dead of Winter from Oni, and I did Mars Attacks with Chris Schweitzer, which is in my opinion, one of the best books I've done. And he has a dog named Butthead. I think his name is Butthead, which is a Steve Martin joke. I forgot. I didn't even put it together. And I saw the editor. He's like, "Oh, I thought you were doing like an homage." I'm like, "No, I'm just dumb. I thought Butthead was a really funny name for a dog." It's like, it is. Steve Martin already did that. But I try to dogs, man. Dogs make everything better.
They
Facts.
do. They do. Life too. Life books, literature, whatever. Yeah. How have you lucked out with? Have you ever gotten to like pick artists for projects, or have they been like? Or
It's
did you get any
complicated
input on that?
I generally have some input. With like most of the early books, I probably chose. I mean, because with my friends, like Erica's a friend of mine, Chris Schweitzer is a friend of mine. I'm trying to think. For Rick and Morty, the backup artist became the main artist, and he was there sort of the whole time. They'd have fill-ins, and I wouldn't have any control over that. But generally, the way it works, though, I think with Marvel, they just didn't. They didn't even ask. I think they were just like, "This is the artist." But usually, with the publishers, the way it works is you go, unless I come in with somebody, like Fran Galan on Pine and Merrimack came right after the pitch. Basically, I was like, "This is the guy who's going to do it." But
Okay.
generally, it's like they'll show you like 4 options. And you kind of have to pick in the 4 options, because if you go past those 4, I found it's generally not, you're just desperate. You know what I mean? So I know for Peacemaker, I can remember the 3 artists they showed me. And it's Where Monsters Lie was also a situation where they're like, here's the 3 artists, and Peter was the best one. In fact, I think Fran Galan was on that list and he was too busy. But yeah, it's usually how it works. But I am, look, my star is rising, so to speak. But I'm not at a point where like Mitch Gerard isn't asking. He's like, we should do something together. You know what I mean? So it's always sort of like,
Mitch watches my show all the time. That's a joke. That's a joke. I wish he did. But
you know what I'm saying? Like you reach a certain point with the success of your writing, your sales, and
Yeah.
sort of the comfort level of where you can, and you make more people. So it's just one of those things where it's like you kind of go with what's available. And I've been incredibly lucky. I'd work with every single one of those people. Every single one of them I work with, again, I thought they were so professional and so gangbuster. So
Awesome.
I've been super lucky, man, because you never know what you're going to get. And sometimes it's a lot more work on the writers end for me, because I'm a cartoonist. Someone called me a sequentialist the other day, and I like that a lot.
Ooh, I like that too.
Is that sometimes the storytelling is lost and you have to kind of get in there more than you want to, but that's rare. I've been very lucky. I hope it continues. That's my hope.
Nice. Hey, Justin, thanks for tuning in, bud. You have been. Well, I think he was talking about you and these amazing books and art we've been talking about. Is what I'm assuming. And it's my show, so I get to assume. That's the. But yeah, it's you have gotten great artists. I was very surprised. I remember when I remember like Marvel Unleashed being solicited, and even then I was like, oh hell yeah, like look, Marvel pets, like I need to check. But you're like, it kind of when I didn't catch it coming out, and then like when I read it on Marvel Unlimited, I mean it's been out for a while. All the issues are on Marvel Unlimited. If you've got a Marvel Unlimited subscription, or if you haven't used yours in a while, is worth firing up. I was so it wasn't the style of art I expected in this book. They threw like top quality superhero shenanigan art on these pages for these animals, and every panel looks so damn good. And then of course, I mean, it kind of had to, right? Like you had to fall in love with you had to fall in love with D-Dog hard. You had to fall so hard, and like the torn up Wolverine mask and the goofiness, and you know that helped, but I mean that art chiseled itself into my memory like while reading it, and I just was like I expected like a more cartoony, or like Feral and like what they're doing with like what Fleece is doing over with Boom and Feral, like that kind of, you know.
I think they were very much wanting for it not to be like a weird niche group, like a weird silly. It is still ostensibly all ages, but they wanted it to less be like a joke, like for these to be like comic characters, comedic characters, I say. So I think that was all. That's why it's not called Pet Avengers. That's why it's called Marvel Unleashed, is because they wanted them to be something that if they could use other places, and it wouldn't be like, oh boy, it just got silly in here. Like it's not silly. We didn't play it silly. I mean, there's the nature of my writing is I like to make characters charming in a way that uses that no matter what I do.
Yeah, you can't not throw out a great one-liner every now and then.
I can't help it. But it's like we wrote it, but despite like it's not a comedy, but it is amusing, right? It has amusing parts. But I think all good things have layers to it, and certainly we approached this book in that way. Like it will have layers to it. It won't. I don't know if you read the other Pet Avengers things, but they're not very good. I say that with all due respect to the creative team who worked on it, but they're kind of nothings in many ways. And again, I say that with all due respect because I know a lot of work went into them. Whereas I'm like, what if I'm going to read? If I want to read this Pet Avengers, I want to one that mean something, and that's not the right word. But we wanted to do something less for kids and more sort of a respectful. Like look at these characters not as joke prop sidekicks, but as heroes in their own right. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, they go on a very intense quest. These animals go up against
they go to hell
gods. Like they go to hell. Like,
they go to hell.
I mean you can't have a harder fight than they fight. It Steve Orlando's been on here a couple times, and I remember Steve. When he's amazing. I love him too. He came on and we talked about Rainbow Bridge, and I don't know how I was like the only child that never heard of this poem. Like when I read that graphic novel that him and Steve Fox did, that was the first time I'd heard about it. And then I read the poem and all that. And like you had the Rainbow Bridge like in Unleashed, and I was like, oh man, it was
I think the Rainbow Bridge it's something you don't know about until you're an adult and the pet dies.
Really? Wow, that's all. That's
when every pet I've had, because as a child you don't get the mail, right?
Yeah.
But every pet I've ever had has been put down for whatever, you know what I mean. If you go, they send you. Every vet will send you like 2 weeks later a Rainbow Bridge card that has the poem in it. So it's something you learn, I think, more about as an adult, unless your parents are like, "Oh, read this card, child, this fucked up card about this wonderful, awful place." I know for me, I had a dog pass away right after the book came out, more or less, which is after it is what it is. But it's one of those things. It's to me, the Rainbow Bridge it has a duality in Marvel that I thought was interesting, which is one of the things that sort of drew me to this, is the sort of duality of do they still do the Rainbow Bridge card? Of course, why not? Who cares? So it's like the sort of play on those two things. But I think the Rainbow Bridge poem is one of those sort of beautiful, awful things. Like it's moving. It's moving because the concept is so powerful, but also it's like viscerally upsetting to think about. So,
the
Rainbow Bridge,
and like that moment of like of pain, and you've lost your best friend and stuff, and you're like, I want to go to the Rainbow garbage now. And you're like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to sacrifice the rest of my life to go cuddle with my buddy right now. Like,
they'll be there later. That's
that is
the whole
a dark
point.
thought. Like,
time doesn't pass. They're not missing you. As soon as they turn around, there you are. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it is cool. And
I don't think I believe in an afterlife, but I'm 100% leaning into the Rainbow Bridge.
Dude, I said that the other day when there was a time when we had 3 dogs. I had a 220-pound English Mastiff named Hercules, and we got him from a breeder, brought him home when he was 18 pounds, and he just kept growing. Like, he just, and we only had him big, the big ones don't last as long anyway, but we only had him 7 years, and
that's
it wasn't
average
his knees.
though.
Yeah, like his kidneys just quit. It sucked, dude. And like that was my dude. And then in that time I brought home 2 dogs off the street. I just found them, and they like came in, and then moved in. And so we had these 3 dogs for a while, and all random. Found them on the streets. They all got along so well. All were great dogs. And last 2 years ago, we lost the last 2 like in the same, like, within 6 months. It was hard, man. And I don't know where I was going with this. I'm bringing it down. I'm bringing the
dogs are sad. Rainbow Bridge. We love to hear it.
Rainbow Bridge. And so I read Rainbow Bridge, and it's nice, and it's fun, and it's good. And I like that I like it in comics. It's a good like visual thing. Oh, I remember. I'm bad about this. I'm sorry, Kyle. But like, I had a brain injury. I'm just kidding. It's called life. I don't believe in I was raised Catholic and grew out of it, right? And I said that a while back. I was like, it's weird. Like, I don't believe in all that, but there's this weird part of me that is like, I really hope my 3 dogs are like hanging out and happy and healthy and not hurting, And I was like, and I thought about that, and I was like, you're so dumb. But then I was like, you know what? That made me temporarily happy, and that's all you can ask for.
All the promise of an afterlife is just for us to not dread death. So
yeah.
Let's just say that as we go, the last spark of our brain is maintaining the idea of whatever we think it is, and I'm going to lean into the Rainbow Bridge. There's going to be a lot of dogs, a lot of cats, and a lot of gerbils. Yeah, why not? Why not? This guy says we talked about Frenchie.
Yeah, I was gonna
at Heroes Con, and we had to cut out the Frenchie because the Frenchies like honk when they breathe.
Yeah, they make
like,
crazy
honk,
noises.
Yeah, and we originally had to say honk honk honk, and we had to take it out because it was too like direct of a. We thought people wouldn't understand why it was honking. I was like, that's sad, but so the honking didn't make it. That's the short version, but we did. It was originally in there.
He farts a lot though, right? Like they gotta.
I don't know if he definitely licks himself.
Okay, because they were
Bruce Wayne is not. He's not in it. He's not in it a whole lot, but he's kind of a lovable dummy for sure.
Yeah, in his little tuxedo. I love that. He's like, he look like he's in a little tuxedo. And I also love when they kidnap him and when Peacemaker sees the card and he's like, someone's gonna die. And I was like, yes, like, because I can't, like, John
Wick,
John Wick, like you hear that, like if someone tells you the plot of that movie, right? You're like, oh, that's silly, and then but you like fall in love with a dog.
No way.
Like, nope, I would go to war for you. Like,
the thing is, there's certain things that are shorthand, and I mean, pets are shorthand to sort of emotional reactions. And you might have thought that when someone told me, they're like, what's the plot? They're like, oh, a hitman's dog gets killed and he goes on a revenge tour. I'm like, of course. The guy's like, of course. I can think of no greater motivation.
Yeah.
And the brilliance of that is that replace dog with wife, girlfriend, daughter. We've seen that 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it 1,000 times, but every time a daughter dies in film, you go, oh, that kind of sucks. Every time a dog dies in film, you know what I mean? Like, it's crushing.
Oh,
so
it gets you, yeah.
It's very clever. It's very clever. It's a shorthand for a motivation that you never get tired of. It's just good. It's just writing. And that's even the same. It's like all the stuff that I do, it's not unintentional. You know what I mean? And if you can use a shorthand to sort of make someone go, oh, I love that thing. It's a pet. A pet's the easiest thing to do that with. And maybe prom. I don't know what the other ones are, but there's certain things that are shorthands. You know what I mean? And it's like we try to use those in our toolbox.
Yeah. And as you should, right? I mean, they say like write. It's funny because they say like write what you know, and then they also say like don't be a cliche and don't be afraid to experiment, but write what you know and don't ever.
Sure, sure.
Like,
Well, it's trying to find that twist. It's just trying to find that twist for
yeah.
what is your perspective. It's so. I mean, most things in humanity are we have shared experiences. Like, we eat and we go to the bathroom, we shower, we fall in love, we go to work. And there are people obviously who have unique singular experiences, but for the most part, we're all drawing from those shared experiences, but it's how you go, this is a different take on it. Right. So, that's it. Write what you know for sure. But, think about it too. That's what it should say.
But that, I mean, I think so many people, I mean, obviously in one way or another, so many people just don't think, and I'm guilty. I am far from perfect. I have done plenty of not thinking things in my 38 years of existence, but asking that is asking a lot of some, I think, but I agree. I did want to ask you said something interesting, just now. You said how like there's like an easy thing for like when you can take a pet and generate that emotional appeal from it, and how that kind of makes your job easier. Is that why, spoiler alert, but this is an old comic, is that why at the end of Unleashed, like, we don't see D?
It's not that old. It came out last year.
It's on. Well, I mean, it's on Marvel Unlimited though. It's not like it didn't come out like last. I tried really hard not to spoil stuff.
It's got a heartbreaking twist, but
yeah,
you have to have that. We want to feel things.
Okay.
I think it has a heartbreaking twist immediately followed up by a giant reward. So it's worth the momentary suffering.
It was like 2 cries. It was like a fucking sad cry, and then a page turn, and then an instantaneous happy cry. And I was like, wow, it was a lot. And so, yeah, I really do. Like, I encourage you to check out all of Kyle's books. And like, I
check out Marvel Unleashed though.
Yeah.
Marvel Unleashed is
and buy it. Actually buy it.
Yeah, go to the store and buy it. It's worth it. Especially with pets. I think it's a real pet book. It's something that you get to a loved one who loves pets. I'm trying to sell it now, but I can tell you based on editorial reaction and social media, not many people read that book. But I wish I'm really proud of it. Yeah.
It's aggravating. I mean, you should be. You should be very.
It's a nature
it's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. It's fun, and you when you get talking animals, you never really know where it's going to go, right? And it's like Tom King went a totally different direction with Animal Pound, right? And it's like there's like governmental coups and shit, right? And I was like, whoa, like this is like Animal Farm. Like I wasn't expecting that. Tony Fleece, like with Feral, is ripping your heart out of your chest through just from like visually and like rabid creatures destroying cute little cats, and they relish in that over there. But this was animals being heroes, and they talk and have real conversations, and it was cool. It was very cool. And so, yeah, shame on you, internet, for not you right there. Shame on you.
What are you gonna do? When you go into these projects, you try to make this is sort of my guiding light, which I'm talking about a lot because it's like, why are things getting made? But you try to make the thing that you wanted to exist in the world. And from this is very much me going, if I love pets and I love Marvel, what's that story? And I feel like I did a successful version of whatever that is. So
yeah, you did.
I'm stoked about talking about Marvel Unleashed. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad you always like to hear when anyone likes anything. But I think like, man, I made a book for pet lovers. But there's different books for different. I mean, I try not. Everything's very similar, but I try to bounce around a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And certainly, it's like, so someone's like, my dad loves basketball. I'd be like, get him Old Head. Like, my dad likes Hollywood, or whomever. My cousin likes Hollywood. I'm like, Assassin. Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton. Like, there's something for not necessarily for everyone, but I'm trying to bounce around a way, and each time I do that, I'm trying to make the thing that I wanted. Which I think is sort of, if you do that thinking universally that you have a readership, that you find that middle ground of making the thing that you wish existed that other people will like too. So we'd never do that. I like Marvel Unleashed too. I'm always stoked to talk about, because I can tell you I didn't do any podcasts. I didn't do any interviews. It's rarely spoken about. So I love to hear about it.
Well, cool. Like, I'm doing my job.
I think it could be any of my books. Any of my books, I'd be stoked to talk about. So like, I'm like, oh, you want to talk about one of my books? Sure. You liked it a lot. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Tell me
like,
more.
you're like, oh yeah, wait, which one did you like best? No,
Yeah,
but
tell
no,
me.
like
Tell me.
you, yeah, you do a lot of different, and your voice is there, your voice and your style and your sense of humor, or like you said, you create these charming characters out of humor. You said that, or like something. So like, and I see that and appreciate it in your stuff. But yeah, it's the scenarios, the stories, it's different.
A little bit. Yeah. There's a lot of Hitman. There's a lot of dogs. There's a lot of like sort of friendship, found family stuff. But yeah, it's like now I want to do like a mystery, and now I want to do like an epic Hitman battle, and I want to do I want to do karate prom. You know what I mean? Like it's always like trying to find the whatever I'm interested in and try to keep moving forward. And you know, as I'm sort of moving into my big two phase, it's going to be less of that. It's just going to be the nature of me being like, instead of going, oh, I haven't done a sci-fi yet, it's going to be, oh, I haven't done a Spider-Man. You know what I mean? So it's going to change the way that works, but I'm excited about the challenge of that. Should it fully come? But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, just always trying to tell the story I want. After I told the story, I kind of move on. Like, could I just tell Hitman stories forever? Yes, I could. Hitman with a dog forever. Like, it would never stop. Like, let's just, you know, we don't live in an industry anymore where I'm going to get 50 issues on something, you know. So it's like you're always sort of trying to find like the nugget, the prime nugget, and tell that story.
So would like a follow-up Hawkeye Pizza Dog against Russian almost like a sequel to like the AHA Fraction, like what's a dream Hitman with a dog IP for you?
I don't have it. I don't think about IPs like that.
Okay.
It's just not how I operate. I grew up I grew up a superhero guy. I'm 47. I worked in the comic shop from 14 to 20 into the 90s. Like I certainly loved those characters. But when I entered into comics, it was with Sex Castle, and it was never, can I please write Spider-Man? It was, can I please write this next story? Can I please tell this other story idea I have? And it's like, that's to me, the real goal is to just be able to keep doing this. And I'd love to play in those sandboxes for a little bit because I think it's interesting, and certainly it's where the most readers are. And certainly, if you look through the history of creators' successes in the direct market, in the American direct market, you have to exist in that space for some time.
Yeah.
Everyone benefits from being in comics for the superhero comics for a couple of years. In America, there's very, very, very few people who are huge successes who didn't spend some time in sort of the superhero minds.
That's true.
But there's never, only because so much time has passed. It's like when I was 18, I'd be like, let me list them for you. You know what I mean? I just don't know where those characters are. I have to do a lot of research. I'm doing a lot of research these days. It's me reading a lot of Marvel and DC comics, which is great, which I love. But it's trying to play catch up. You know, it's like, who are these characters? What are they now? And then it'll be, it's always me going, what's the best story for these characters, for their fans, that I want to read? Which is a small twist. I don't think I would do like a follow up to Fraction Hawkeye, but I will say, if you said, who do you think you'd be good at? Hawkeye would be up there, but he's very character driven, and my stuff is very character driven. So either give me a big dummy who tries hard, like Peacemaker, that's vaguely humorous, or give me something where it's like they're almost completely character motivated, which there's less and less of that nowadays.
Yeah.
But Hawkeye is a character who sort of became that, and so did Hawkeye Kate, also very much sort of got a character motivated. Because I don't think I'm a clever like plot guy. Like, I don't think you're gonna go, wow, what a twist, or I don't think I'm that kind of guy. And I think I'm more of like, let's go on a ride, like let's go on a romp, and you'll enjoy it. But I think people go, that's great. But I don't think they go, man, that when that thing happened in Act 2, you know what I mean? Oh, who would have ever thought that? I don't think I'm that guy. I'm certainly aspiring to maybe be some version of that guy, but So there's a lot of like, you know, they're like blue and gold probably, right? I'd be pretty good at.
Mm.
And some of it is just like the characters I don't care about, so I'd probably say no. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. That's all the thing is, like, I don't have a dream. If I did, it was like Great Lakes Avengers, and I did those for the Marvel app. I did like a little short thing for the Marvel app, or even like Peacemaker. When Peacemaker, someone tweeted like, why isn't there a comic? And I was like, man, that's the one I could do. Like that was the first time I was like, man, I could do this character great. And I think I did. I sincerely think I did, humbly.
I do too, but I had a question about that.
Oh yeah, okay.
I don't know a lot about Peacemaker, right? I know the
No one
James
does.
Gunn movie, and I know that I loved the HBO series, and in reading Tries Hard, you replicate that tone, you replicate his dialogue, the art team replicates his body language. It is almost uncanny. It's very impressive what you guys did. And so, and is that Peacemaker? Like, did John Cena really get it on camera, or did you guys go with John Cena?
So here's the quick history of Peacemaker. Someone's going to be like, no, I loved it. No one cared about Peacemaker prior to Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Here's how little he came over with. Someone will correct me, with I think the Charleston characters, and so Peacemaker is in Watchmen. But he is the smallest character in Watchmen. Do you know who he is?
No.
He's the comedian. The comedian's Peacemaker in Watchmen.
What?
So, you know,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Rorschach is the Question. Dr. Manhattan's Captain Atom, right? Night Owl is Blue Beetle. Comedian is Peacemaker. Okay. So of those characters he bought, and that's how, like, no one cares. Like no one cares about the Peacemaker. So the brilliance, hi Pierre. So the brilliance of James Gunn is, when you do I'm speaking from like where I sit, right? So like when you do these superhero movies, you are in many ways, you can upset the fandom, right? It's very easy to do. But what James Gunn has done is go, no one cares about these characters. I can do whatever I want. And he's right. So like, I'm a huge Marvel, like I said, for 20, you know, from 5, I had a thing where, like, I just want to know all their real names, and someone asked me, I'd be like, I had no idea who Star-Lord is. I'd never seen him before. I'd never heard of him. Using a character, Rocket Raccoon, I knew only because it was a Mike Mignola comic, right? Groot, never heard of him. The other ones you did know, but Drax was different, but who cares? He was never a popular character, right? Yeah. Drax was a big part of the Infinity Gauntlet, and like just no one cared. There's a brilliance of going, no one will be mad if I change Javelin. No one will be mad if I change, you know, Arm Fall Off Boy, who's from the future. And he's not even like, so it's one of the things, like, it's a brilliance of that. And Peacemaker's just on that list. He's a character. Who's going to complain? The answer is nobody. Nobody's going to complain. And he's so good at making, which is again, I'm the poorest version of James Gunn, is you take these characters and the way you tell an interesting story, and he tells great stories, by the way, is you go, don't you want to like all these characters? So if from the get-go, you're like, wait, I kind of like these characters, their journey is so much more meaningful to you. Again, that's just art. It's writer trick, right? So he's so good at that. And he basically takes people and gives them human fallibilities. Like, they're not just, you know, it's not just I'm an unbeatable hero machine who never gives up. You know, I'm kind of a dummy who doesn't know everyone doesn't like me. And when I find out, it's upsetting to me. And now I want to be better as a person. Like, that's a great arc in any story, much less a superhero story. So yeah, Peacemaker. So my Peacemaker is DC Black Label, which is its own nothing. It's non-canonical. But I believe, and it's my understanding, I think Josh Williamson is writing Green Arrow, is basically this Peacemaker is in there. So I think this sort of like bombastic, sort of dummy, hyper violent guy is Peacemaker now. Okay. But it's because of James. It's because that was so popular. That's why. Okay. The most popular version will win, right? Like, even the Teen Titans have shifted a little bit because of the cartoon. Everyone's shifted a little bit because you want to give people what they want, and you know what I mean. Like, especially as an entertainment company. And if you think about how many times they haven't done that, by the way, think about how many times they didn't. It's almost a miracle, like, that we did this Peacemaker comic. It's almost a miracle. Why wasn't there a Suicide comic that was like the movie?
Yeah, you're right.
Why wasn't there? And they would go, why do we have to keep canceling it at 7? It's like, because people want the other thing. So I think you find that middle ground, which is what I'm saying, is like, and I think James Gunn very much does it, and he's going to do it more going forward. But as a storyteller, especially with these IPs, with these big properties, is you want to find that middle line where people are getting what they want, but you're still telling them the story that they need to hear, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I think a lot of these, I think we failed in the comics industry by not adjusting things, like not acting quicker to sort of go, oh, people like Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's push it. Let's push it. Let's give them a real that sort of energy story. We didn't do it. It never really happened. For who knows why. Why isn't there a Beyond the Spider-Verse comic? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of questions that I could have, but so this is like, so I keep pointing because it's right here. It's actually right. I mean, how do I work my finger?
Yeah.
It's right here. I did it. I did it. Just clip it. don't clip that. But I feel like it's kind of a miracle, and even when we did it, they were like, what do you want to do basically with it? And I'm like, as close to the show as possible. Like, what would the other conversation even be?
Yeah, and it really was like it was so impressive. It was it very much felt like a continuation of like the movie, the series, the comic book. I thought you guys did a great job, and that's why I was wondering, because I didn't know if that was kind of him or if that was the new version, but I like that, and that is genius to find these characters you can kind of manipulate and not piss off a lot of, because nerds be angry, like, you know, you can't ever. I'm glad we're not making Star Wars movies. I'd love that Star Wars money, but I would not want that Star Wars guilt.
It's any fan. I mean, any fandom is like that, and the more history, the longer it is, the more lore, and that's the thing. Is I think, and again, that's why I say for me, and I mean, this is it's unrelated. What is that for me? I think about there's a responsibility. There's a responsibility that I can't imagine being like, I'm gonna do the craziest take on, name a character, Colossus. I'm gonna do the craziest, and like my intent is just to change that character completely. To me, and I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying from my perspective, I've always wanted the thing I liked in my entertainment. And certainly there's people who come in and sort of revise and reboot or do like drastic changes. I mean, we can talk it like, look at Archangel's better than Angel. All right, listen, hot take, Archangel's better than Angel. But so I mean, there's things, but it's like for me, like I couldn't imagine being given the responsibility of Ghost Rider or whomever, and not going, I want to tell the best Ghost Rider story for the Ghost Rider fans that I can, but also make it the one that I want to read, which means there's a middle ground in there. And it's not the same as me doing Assassination or Karate Farm, where the whole thing, the universe is mine. I can change everything. And so that's what I'm saying. But there's a way, but if I was dealing with a mass market, like you go, well, not all these characters fit, and you can't deal with the entire history of a certain character to make it work. And so it's smart to be like, who does no one care about? Who does no one care about? And they're like, Javelin. You're like, all right, we're fucking Javelin up. Like it's just smart. It's just legit. And I think James Gunn does, even though he does change these characters, it's very clear what he's trying to do with those movies. Is like, he wants to give you a great superhero experience, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker, right? It's like, it's not that character. I don't think he does. It's clear to me that he's not doing that out of a disrespect for the characters, which I would argue maybe every Fantastic Four movie is. And he has a love for the medium, and he's trying to find the characters that best tell the best story. And it's just smart. It's just smart because, I mean, Favreau did it with Iron Man, and it's Iron Man. So there's different ways. Obviously, there's different ways to do it. And that's the thing. Is like, which way are you going to do it? They're both good. All's good. All stories are good. I'm trying to back myself up.
I'm interested because I do agree, like how he can take these like things that we don't know. I taught a lot of you fancy writers do it too. Tom King recently did it with Human Target, and then I went and bought the JLI omnibuses because I was like, I gotta learn more about these characters. But
probably some of my favorite superhero books ever.
I know.
Matthias.
So many people have said this. They're like, oh, dude, you are in for a treat. Like it's crazy. So yeah, I'm really excited. Not that I have time to read omnibuses lately, but I joke, say I'm buying for my retirement. but I have still known.
That first book is unbelievable. I would say like if someone was like for especially superhero stuff, like what are my influences? Giffen to Dias JLI. That's probably the very top of the heap because they do that thing where it's like this is a superhero comic. It's not like any superhero comic you've ever read. It's very character driven. You still have all the spectacle. Don't you love all these characters? And it's like that's what you want, or that's what I want. Is that because I'm not Al Ewing. You know what I mean? Like Al Ewing, who has this unbelievable ability to constantly raise the stakes, to constantly make new dangers and new threats, and it's relentless. I can't do that the way that no one can. But you get what I'm saying? But I can do that. I can do a version of that, and that's what I like. I like these characters, and even with my books, with all these books, I'm doing a book called Pine and Merrimack right now. It's coming out from Boom. Right? Issue 4 came out today. Yeah. And it's the same in that, just like, I hate this place. It's like, well, as a writer, I want to spend time with these characters, but more than anything, I want people to want to spend time with these characters. And I feel the same way, like even look at Marvel, like Marvel Unleashed. I want people to really like Red Wing, even though he's kind of a jerk. I want people to really like Chewie. I want them to really like, this version of Throg, which is kind of the version of Throg. But you get what I'm saying? And I feel like there's different kind of like that's what I want. And I think when you read those first like 3 issues of it was just Justice League when it came out, but those Giffen to Matthias, you're like, I love all these guys. Booster Gold and Blue Beetle were not Booster Gold and Blue Beetle before that book. Wow. Guy Gardner was not. He was similar, but he wasn't that character. You know what I mean? And it's not that he's like, oh man, it's so cool to me. Like Giffen to Matthias like changed the sort of direction of all these kids. John, like even like I love Martian Manhunter. One of the first comics I read was Justice League Detroit. It was the Justice League Detroit era, and he was the only character. Famously, it's a bad run. It wasn't bad to me, but people didn't get what they wanted out of it, which I think is probably something that also affected me. I love Martian Manhunter, but like Giffen to Matthias, we're like, what if we just gave him this very simple human thing? He loves Oreos. It adds so much to him because it just little things like that. It's like, to me, I love these characters, and so when I take them on, I want to have a reason to love. I need to have a reason, and I want to make a reason for people who already love them to love them more. Or more people who have never read them to be like, that character is great, because that's how we feel, right? As longtime fans. That's probably I have to be careful because sometimes I say things without thinking.
I have that problem.
I love the Byrne. There's a lot of, I know that he's unpopular take, but like Byrne Claremont run on X-Men's probably my favorite run.
Yeah.
I love like Alpha Flight. I love his first 12 issue Alpha Flight. But I think probably that those first 12 issues, or whatever you want to break, the first arc, it might be my favorite comics. They're just so fun. They're so fun and they're smart. And it's a sitcom.
Might have to break it open. There's the Omni. They're still in the plastic. I may have to read, because you're right. It's the first. I was looking at the table of contents, and it says that the first 6 issues is just Justice League, and then it switches to Justice League.
Yeah. Just read the first 6 issues, because here's the thing: you're gonna be like, I'm gonna keep reading. And the thing is, it's in full disclosure, I think it's a work of pure genius, but it does have its misses. Like there's the Gray Man thing's a little slow, but the thing is, it's like you don't care because you're like you're so invested in like Batman, who's 100% Batman, but every now and then isn't. They give him just a little, him bouncing off of each characters. Booster and Blue Beetle's friendship, he bounces everyone off each other, or they do, in such a great way that it's a unique comic experience. And it came out for, again, we're tangenting, so we guys buy my books. We're tangenting so far away from, but the thing, like, this was mid 90s, this was post Watchmen, and basically everything on the shelf was dark, gritty, street level. Everyone had a drug habit, or they were fighting drug dealers. Everything was very serious. It was very gritty. And these guys are Hitman was coming out at the same time, from Ennis, and these guys are putting out this book, which is just like, it's just a silly, fun play on superhero. It's like it was such a breath of fresh air. Nice. I have it. It's right. I'm looking at it, and I don't buy omnibuses because I don't have time to sit. Like, I like the books.
Okay.
But I bought that in a heartbeat, because like, can I have all those? Like, yes, please. In fact, is that the only omnibus? I have the Who's Who omnibus. I had to for research. That was a tax write-off. I have Justice League, and I have a few of the Walking Dead. I think that's the only thing I bought.
I have so many. That's what quarantine and pandemic did to me. I found retail therapy and started buying like fancy, nice hardcovers. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't spending any money. Like it was like
I'd say Justice. If you love superheroes, Justice League is a hard wreck. If you like Hawkeye, it's a harder wreck.
Awesome. Hell yeah, I'm stoked.
It's just great. And even if you only read those first 6 issues, you'll be like, there's a moment. I won't do spoilers. There's a moment. I don't think it's issue 1. I think it's maybe issue 2, which to me is just one of the greatest moments in comic history, and it's the storytelling on it is pitch perfect. It just, you could tell like Giffen was one of those. Giffen is a precursor to me in that it's funny, but also he just did superhero stuff, and it was always, he did Lobo. You know what I mean? Like he did superheroes. Like he's a GOAT creator who did everything. And so I'm going to blow him up. I can't remember what the point of mentioning that was, but it's just great. Read Justice League. Read Justice League. Oh, that moment I think is.
Oh yeah, the issue 2.
The storytelling's so good. Yeah, I don't remember which one it is. It might be issue 1. I can't remember. But when it happens, and the fact that you don't know what I'm talking about, you have such a treat. Read those first 6 issues. Everyone in the chat, tell them to read.
Yeah,
that's a hard It's a hard recommend. I think it's one of the GOAT. GOAT superhero runs.
You know, volume 3 comes out early May, I think.
I only have 1. I probably should, but it's like I also don't have time, and I don't need to just have them. I think I could probably ask for DC just to send them to me.
You should, yeah. I feel like that's got to be. You fucking right. Peacemakers, as you did. They should give you a bunch of stuff.
Hey guys, send me the other 2. They don't do that.
No
one does that.
You mentioned when you were writing like, you know, big 2 properties that aren't yours, right? Characters that aren't yours. There's a part where, you know, you're feeding a little bit of what you love about them, but you're also considering what everybody loves about them, right? And when you're coming up with your own characters, right? Look at me segueing back to your stuff. When you're coming up with your own characters, like Karate Prom, I instantly
out May 7th.
Like I instantly felt like Sam and Dawn forever, dude. Like, you know, I mean, like,
let's go.
My goodness. And like, I just instantly gave a shit. And like in the tournament, right, when your opponent is Sam, and I was like, okay, and you know, and like and that's the first few pages, and then but after that, how quickly their relationship like kind of like blossoms, but even with how quickly it happens, how like strongly efficient, and it cements itself into like the narrative, and it sounds so cheesy, but in my heart, like it was just like,
for sure. That's what we want.
I was living for him, dude. And
yeah,
like I said, I was really swept up in this. And what I mentioned in the green room before the show started, you know, it made me think. I didn't go to prom my senior year. My senior year, I was being a bad kid, and I was out partying. But like, and when we totally crashed a prom party.
Sure. That's like then you might as well have gone to prom. It counts.
Yeah,
it counts.
Yeah. But my junior year, I was in love. Oh, I was in love with this girl named Megan Tillman, and she was like
full names. What a mistake.
Yeah.
Everyone's on Facebook now.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's fine. It's whatever. We went to prom. We went to prom together, and I remember like we didn't go to the after party, and it was me and my best friend Dennis and Megan and his date. He went with this girl named Mary, and we ended up hanging out. We didn't go to after parties, and we just went and hung out. And I remember like I walked Megan to her car. It was like they hung out for a while, listening to music, talking. It was like 3:00 in the morning. I walked Megan to her car. It's pouring rain.
To be young again.
Yeah, and I'm still in my tux, just getting poured on, and like, you know, and she's standing outside her car, and I was like, Megan, I really like you, and tonight was really fun. She was like, yeah, it was a real fun, but we're friends. And I was like, okay, bye. And I just stood there, got rained on, and I was like, wow, fuck my life. And you brought me back into that, just dropped me into that landmine of a memory. But it wasn't just that part. It was like, when I thought of that first, but then the other memories that came back, like when I was at my buddy Dennis's house, and like we were getting our tuxes on and putting our jackets on, and the girls showed up, and like seeing Megan in her dress, and like, holy fuck, she's beautiful, right?
That's the best. It's the best.
And you got that moment
Yeah.
In this book, you got it so
Yeah.
absolutely perfectly. Like you feel that time stop, and you feel that rush of blood and that lightheadedness and
Yeah.
that like primal need, and as well as that like that poetic love, lust, and you captured it, and that was a real powerful moment for me. Like I said,
Yeah.
it just
That's
like
awesome.
threw me back into high school and memories, and even though
Love
some
to
of the
hear it.
memories weren't great, it was just like that you had me there, you really did, and then the
That's
rest
awesome.
of it was just pure joy. And I did not want it. I did not want it to end. Like I'm 38 years old. This comic book sang to me, spoke to me, and made me burn through the pages, dude.
Yeah, we love to hear it. Yeah, I think most of my stuff is pretty quick. I kind of like for things to be a fast read as much as possible. Because you want to be relentless. You know what I mean? You want
Yeah.
it to be sort of punchy, or I do. I've been rereading Watchmen for a project, neither here nor there. But it's like that book does not want you to do that. It wants you to linger and
Yeah,
sort
it
of
wants you to
like
sit and think
soak
and
and yeah.
dread.
But like I always kind of like what if you could just finish it while you're on the toilet? Like wouldn't that be the best? Or so I think but I think my pacing it's it's what you want from the reader from the page, and mine is like we will tell this fun story. Let's go through it. And that's kind of everything I do. Is they're all very poppy, they're all very bouncy, and
Mm,
we want to have a momentum. I want stories to have a momentum, so you're like cresting.
yeah.
But yeah, I love to hear that. Yeah, the dress. That's the whole thing is not trying to recreate. Again, there's so much. It feels disingenuous, but it's like it's shorthand, right? Like a shorthand is this is a shared experience, and here it is, and but it serves everything has to serve a function to the story, and certainly that's a moment where Don is who's the main male character, and Sam is like you already knew he was smitten, and that they were
Mm-hmm.
getting along very nicely, but like when you see her at the dress at the top of the stairs, that's a lifetime memory. Like that, Don's going to have that forever,
Yeah.
because we generally humans have something similar. Yeah, I'm glad you got that. I'm glad you reacted to that. To me, I was doing another conversation, and I was like, the part that to me, certainly, I can like of all the museums I've been to, I don't know if there's been a greater art of the dances I was lucky enough to go to see the girl appear in her dress. I don't know if there's anything more aesthetically beautiful in my life. But that bit is like before like the grilling by the dad. Like the grilling by the dad is a very real experience for me. It's always like doing what I mean, like doing like yes,
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not. We're gonna dance. I'll try not. I don't guess I'll put my sir. I don't. Jesus Christ! And it's like I only have devious intent. You know what I mean? And trying not to be like, like to be honest still and good, but you're like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to kiss that girl tonight, sir. I don't know how
Yeah.
to get out of this conversation. If all goes well, I'm kissing your daughter tonight, sir. Now I have daughters, so it's a nightmare. It's just an outright nightmare to think about. But yeah, there's a lot. Like, I think, especially, I hope that it's something that is genderless in terms of like
Mm.
how it's consumed and enjoyed. But there are certain things like when the first time Don sees Sam, which is at the first tournament, um, he's immediately taken. He's immediately smitten because he's never
You say he
and
was knocked right off his feet in that
is knocked
scene.
right off his feet, you might say. But I think that's something that's fairly universal.
Yeah.
But especially for men, in my experience, is that you're like that girl. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so little things like that you put in, and it's just trying to shorthand it so we can keep moving. So we can keep moving. You get it. He likes her. She is sort of like agrees out of no good answer because we've all been there too,
Yeah.
and it ends up being like one of the great decisions of her life, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I think all the things that happen to all the characters within reason is relatable, and even again another conversation I had was we talked about how Luke, who's sort of the '80s ski hill mountain bully, like I feel like he gives a pretty like his reasoning for why he's the way he is kind of relatable too. Like
Yeah.
he makes sense, which is always the worst type of villain, is the one who makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because he does that big speech about how only nerds care about the future. Like people who are successful don't worry about the future in the same way, which I think is very bully mentality, but also probably successful people mentality too in many ways.
Yeah, it's that's when the villains get scary, right? When you're like, oh shit, I would be mad about that too. Like,
Yeah,
like
the
oh
worst.
wait, like yeah,
Yeah, the worst villains are always the ones that make the most sense,
yeah.
for sure.
and he does, and he's unlikable, but his presence is fun on the page. Like all the characters, like it's actually impressive how fair you
That's exactly
are
right.
to everybody's screen, like everyone's screen time. Like Sam and Don get most of it, as they should, right?
Sure.
But
Yeah, they're the
the
stars.
other characters, like you give
Everyone has
them.
an arc.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Punch Man, like
Punch Man.
and the night school deal, and like might want to put a shirt on for the ceremony, and I just
Yeah,
like
we love Punch Man.
just the little stuff there. His two hustling buddies and the bowling money, like oh my god, like there, and also how that money ties into the plot big time and turns things around. Real smart writing, real intelligently crafted chaos, and I loved it.
My struggle and burden as being me is that everything serves a function. I don't do throwaway. I can't do it. It's wasted space, and space is priceless. But the fights tell a story, jokes tell a story. Everything serves a function, and that's true of everything I've done to date. And it makes it very challenging because everything's a puzzle piece that has to link together. I will say, like this book, my early stuff was so effortless. Like it just all, you could see all the string. I could see all the strings from the beginning. And there's certain things that came later. When I did this book, as I said, for Free Comic Book Day, I did one section. I did Karate Prom, and then I was also so smitten with those characters. I did 2 more chapters that I didn't do anything with. I didn't do them. I did Karate Prom, Pay What You Want. I put on Gumroad, right? And so it's like, take it for free, give me $1. I don't care. This is for Free Comic Book Day. But I like those characters so much, I told more stories. And so like Luke and Gale, who are sort of your primary bad guys, so only in the first section, have like 2 goons, right? And so certainly they were just faceless goons, but by the time I got to the third, I was like, oh no, they need their moments too. And so even they, when the third chapter comes around, have like a hero moment, which I love. So nothing's wasted, and I love that. Everything gets used. Everyone has an arc, though what that arc is varies, right? On how extreme it is or how deep of an arc it is. But yeah, that's you make the thing you want, and that's what I like. I like it when everything matters, and I like it when all the characters. I like it when they all serve a function, but I like how in this book particularly they all have little arcs, and I kind of always like when everyone who you see enough that you recognize their face, you are like, oh, they had that little arc, they had that little story, even if it's just a little story, and I like that. So we try to do, like I said, we try to do what we like.
Was that hard to do and structure that in and not
for this one? It wasn't.
Okay.
For this one, I could if we took all my books and we put them on the screen, I could be like, I'll show you I'll tell you which ones were a struggle, and which ones like I honestly don't remember doing. I don't remember doing it, and the ones I don't remember doing almost always are going to be ones that I drew.
Okay.
I don't write a script for myself. I plot it out relentlessly in my mind. I tell myself the stories over and over, and if I go, oh, this bit doesn't work, I tell the story again and I change the bit to make. So it's a lot of me telling myself the story, you know what I mean? And working it out in my mind. And then when the page comes, it lets me improvise a little bit. But for this one, I did it in 10 days. Like I did that first third in 10 days. And it was a blur of just joyful, creativity. Yeah. And I was so in it. And it was the pandemic. I wasn't going anywhere either. I wasn't doing anything. I just kept doing it. I just kept making these characters. And one of the hardest things about being I'm trying to choose my words as humbly as possible. When you become successful in this industry as a writer, you are, to make livable money, you have to write multiple books at once.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's the nature of it. But, and I remember Bendis once saying, like, he's like, oh, I'll write 6 months out in advance, which is crazy because how you're going to get 6 more issues? Wow. What a show off move. But the best stuff is when it's the only thing I'm doing and I'm living in it, because you can see all the angles. So if I want to twist something midway through, if something I'm like, oh, I want to add this thing because I just think it'd be good, I think it'd be funny, and it makes sense to this point. While I'm in it, I can do that. You can very freely dance, and it's all it's not subconscious, it's not stream of consciousness, it's well plotted, but when you're in it, it's so malleable because you can see all the parts, you know, the entire world, right? And one of the worst things about where I'm at now is that I'm doing 3 to 4 or 5 books at a time. And it's always me going, okay, I gotta finish number 1 for this, and then I go, here's number 3 for this one, and then I have to go back and like, what did I write before? Like, you're not in it in the same way. So something like Karate Prom, almost anything I did early, Sex Castle, Rock Candy Mountain, Killed Them All, Assassination, Mars Attacks for sure, 6 Sidekicks, and I was doing Rick and Morty at the same time as those.
Yeah.
The Rick and Morty, I was doing one-offs. I wasn't doing a long.
Okay.
Which is how the show is. The show is one-off, so I made one-offs.
Yeah.
So it made it easy to do that. I'd just be like, "What's the bit? What's the primary joke?" And you could do that. But when you're doing just one book, like I did Karate Prom, Old Head 2, the ones that I wrote and drew always because they're my main. It's what I'm doing. It's all I'm doing, right? It's easier to do these things because I'm in it. So there's a lot of me now that in December I was doing 7 books. I'm like, one, that's not tenable. I've learned that's not tenable for me to keep making books at the quality that I want to make. Whereas in March or January, I was doing 3. I thought 3 is kind of doable. But you have to be aware to me, like it'd be very hard for me to deviate on those books. But for this one, it was just like I was in it and it only made sense. You go, what's next? He has an evil ex-girlfriend. Who's the evil ex-girlfriend? It's Karate After Prom. That's definitely what's next because Karate After Prom is also great. Karate After Prom is maybe better than Prom. You know what I mean? Like after Prom, because like everyone's there and it's now you're not like there's no chaperones and you're at the bowling alley or whatever wherever you're at.
And you mess these kids up. They get their asses kicked. Like Don gets. Oh, no,
he gets hurt.
Don
gets he constantly gets hurt. He's I think there's all the fights matter, and you know Don and Sam, who are the mains, they're 2 completely different fighters. Don is very defensive and sort of tactical, and he just doesn't give up. Whereas Sam is very much your action hero main, right? Like
focused on the attack. Like
she's better than everyone else. But so we present an issue in the second chapter. It's 3 chapters. It's in my head. It's 3 parts. Then the After Prom, you present. Oh. Here's opposition who's a better fighter than her. What do you do? And then of course in 3 you go, here's a better fighter than all of them combined. What do you do? And that's just the natural escalation of a story to want to raise the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
Karate Prom.
It's so good. It really is. I know a lot of you will probably be like, Blake, I don't know if it's for me. And I for real, if you like Kill Bill, if any part of your heart hasn't died and calloused over yet, that's a go. Like there's just it's real people, real emotion, and real good fight scenes. And I love your illustrations, dude. Like your spreads, like when you choose like to go like a full 2-pager, an epic jump kick comes to mind.
Sure.
And like
a good punch.
There's the punch from the brother. Yeah, that was a good one too. But yeah, some really cool illustrations. I'm talking about the heart and the like when like their cheeks rose up and eyes squint, when they're flirting with each other, when they say nice things about each other. I mean,
we can do spoilers, right?
There we go. I love it.
Radical kick.
Yeah. It's so good.
Dude, that's very kind. I like that a lot because certainly my aesthetic is not for the direct market. That I would not be very welcome there. So it's always nice to hear kind things. This is coming out in
the direct market, isn't it?
I know, but it's not. I couldn't draw. Again, name a character. I couldn't draw.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I can never think of a character to do like I couldn't draw Iron Man. You know what I mean? People be like, fuck this. And that's fine. That's fine because you give people what they want, and you try to tell. Like I said, you try to give people what they want when you can give it to them, which we should more often than not. The story is what you need, but the character is what you want. And if you prefer to see it a certain way, now I think there's exceptions because I know Erica got like a lot of shit for it's like, dude, if you don't like Eric Anderson or Joe Quinona, it's like I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah,
like if you don't love Chris Somney, I don't know what's wrong with you. But yeah, I think like you go maybe. Here's my thing about this book is that this book's called Karate Prom. Like, what makes you don't like karate? You don't like proms? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's literally like you're enjoying. No, why didn't you buy it? The question is, why didn't you buy it? He's like, oh, I don't like proms. And you're like, oh, okay, well, like that's fair. It's only a section of it, but why don't you like prom? Like,
Yeah.
what's not to like about prom? Or karate? I had a bad experience. It's like, well, this book isn't called Your Prom. You know what I mean? It's called
Yeah.
Karate Prom. Well, you know what's going to happen? Karate fights. You don't like karate fights? I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't help you here.
You're not in the demographic, I guess. But I feel like
listen. You're in an unsettling demographic if you don't love karate and our prom combined.
Yeah, I fear for the entertainment that is in your algorithm that gets referred to you in this.
Yeah.
It's like
listen,
the raisins in the potato salad shit going on over there.
If you said, listen, I only like serious art, capital S, capital A, I'd be like, this isn't for you. I only like works of great cerebral, like philosophical meaning. I'd be like, oh no, this isn't for you. It does have kisses and punches in it though, and a bunch of adorable teens like trying to survive. Pretty great, pretty fun.
That angst and quirkiness and weirdness of youth, the abruptness of a first love, how quickly things can change. Like you nailed a lot of cool stuff. And it's hard for me to say why it made me cry without spoiling anything. But when certain characters make up, when you find out what's going on.
Yeah, we love a makeup. Everyone loves a makeup.
But that hit, I was like, oh God, they love each other so much. I was like, oh, you turned me into a blubbery little podcaster, Kyle. I was all about it. It was good. It was
we love the roller coaster. We want to go on a roller coaster when we read things. I do. Like again,
I do too.
I like it when I feel when I'm sad, when I'm happy, when I'm worried. You want to be all those things when you go through it, and then you want that. For me, at the end, you want or at some point, usually the end, you want a hooray. You want a hooray moment. I said I tweeted and I've said before, is like, I did this book in 2020 and ostensibly I did it in 2020. And then through 2023, we stretched it out basically because I sold it as a completed book, but it was 110 pages. So we added 50 pages, I think 60 pages. Is that when I got the comp, you read it because you want to make sure they didn't print the pages out of order or whatever. And like I said, whenever I make a story, my goal is to make the thing that I sort of wish existed in the world. Again, sometimes it's what I wanted for what other people to get, right? But for my stuff, I want to sort of be the thing that I want that people will like. And I finished this, and I was like, it's great. And I've been very lucky. I've been able to make the books that I want to make the way I want to make them. Generally, that's true of almost all my books. Is that even the ones I didn't, Assassination, sort of famously, I didn't love. For certain reasons, and I found out when Peacemaker and all these things, Assassination is a very popular book club book. So I would do these virtual book clubs, and I reread Assassination, and having not had read it since it came out, when I was in the midst of dealing with the editorial with other proms, being distanced, I'm like, no, it's good. It's a lot of fun. It's exactly what I want it to be, minus maybe a couple things. But I hated it. And I was wrong. Like, it's still really fun. But for the most part, the books are my vision. These are like Karate Prom's me, Sex Castle's me, Kill Them All is me, Old Head, those are me. And even it's tougher now because I'm working with artists that I don't want to overwork. But the Schweitzer stuff, Mars Attacks and Six Sidekicks, Assassination, those books are so pure me. It's like they're exactly what I want them to be, and they still are. I Hate This Place is exactly what I want it to be. Where Monsters Lie is exactly what I want it to be. Peacemaker. Exact. And the thing is, as long as I follow that North Star, I can read these books and I made them and I like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, to me, like, it's like, that's a success. That's how I gauge a success. Is I go, man, I really like it. I would, if someone else made this, I would love it, and that's what we shoot for. That's what we aspire for.
You got a new book coming out. I haven't heard you.
Oh, yeah.
It's not new. It's a new printing. The complete Rock Candy Mountain they're compiling it all, right? Putting that.
Yeah,
I'm very excited about that. I think?
Early July, it's the Rock Candy Mountain Collected Edition. It's going to have all the back matter that was in the single issues. It's the whole story in ones. I would say if I have any comic regrets, Rock Candy Mountain's probably my second. I'm being objective. I don't. It's in my heart. It's my second favorite because it meant so much to my career, and I love that book. I wouldn't change anything about it. Sex Castle and Rock Candy Mountain, I wouldn't change anything about. I wouldn't change anything about Karate Prom either. Which isn't me saying because it just came out. It's because. And that's like the highest, like, it's one of those things where you go, not being able to look at something creatively and be like, no, it's pretty good. It's perfect how it is. is hard.
Yeah.
Because the books are never really done, and there's always like, if only I had 3 more pages, I would have done. So my one regret is probably Sex Castle has sold evenly since it came out years ago, because it's one story, it's one book, and people would buy it and give it away, and it became sort of like a community, like a word of mouth book. Rock Candy Mountain was my first series, and I simply did what I was told because I don't know any better. And so we did a volume 1 and we did a volume 2, but I wasn't very good at. There's no way that version of Kyle Starks could have been like, the ending for issue 4 needs to make you want to desperately read issue 5 because it's going to be a different book. So those trades, just the first one just stops. Like, it stops in the middle of the story. Like, it just stops, and it doesn't like, so most people only read the first half. And so my biggest regret is I didn't go, let's just wait and put all 8 at once. And I probably could have. I really probably could have, because I remember having a conversation, and I just didn't know any better. I mean, literally just come down to me not knowing any better and not understanding how people consume things, or how like communities consume things when they're comics. So I'm very excited about it. From all my recent rising star, again, I hate saying that. I don't know how else to say it. I'm doing better. The Peacemaker, I Hate This Place, and Where Monsters Lie did really, really well for me. And Rock Candy Mountain has been the biggest winner from that. It's, of all my books, that's the one that people are buying the most.
Cool.
So Image, and I think they're out. I think it's sold out. But Image was like, what if we recollect it, because people are buying it again? And I'm stoked about it, because that's the best way to read it. Because even though people, they're still just buying, a lot of people are just buying volume 1, and you're not getting this whole story. It's a whole story. It's beginning, middle, and end. You know what I mean? And that dummy did do it. So I'm stoked about that. That's forthcoming. Karate Prom comes out May 7th. Pine and Merrimack is in issue 4, just came out. And that did sell out, but I think they did a reprint of issue 1, so you could probably get that. They announced I am doing a spinoff of Minor Threats, which is Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom's sort of superhero book for Dark Horse.
That thing's blowing up, like spinoff after miniseries. Like, it's interesting. I hope you guys all keep going with that. It's a cool project.
That first trade is very, very good. It's a very good. If you love superheroes, it's a very good sort of ode. A playful ode to superheroes that's also very much its own voice, which is the hardest thing to do. This is kind of what we were talking about before. And then the spinoff was Tim Seeley, and I don't know the artist, so I apologize to all. In fact, I apologize to the artist on Minor Threats. I just say the writer's name, but Tim Seeley did the alternates, and that is like the Vertigo version of Minor Threats. It's this weird, like, D-level heroes. It's crazy. It's surreal. I thought it was amazing. So I'm stoked to be a part of it. Ryan Brown from God Hates Astronauts and 8 Billion Genies. 8 Billion Genies is one of the best books of the last 5 years. Hands down, no question. It's a work of genius, him and Charles Soule. But he's doing the art. Ryan Brown is a Midwest guy like me, so I've known him. I've known Ryan for a while, and at no point did I think we'd ever work together. And he is killing it. It's beautiful, unbelievable work. You should, even if I like, oh, come and read my great story, but the art's so good. You know what I mean? The art's so good, it'd be worth it either way. So, and I have 3 books that are like done that haven't been announced yet too. So I've got a lot. This year is going to be a lot. Hopefully, like I said, we're onward and upward, right? That's what we're hoping for.
Oh yeah, man. I'm excited. Now, real quick, so I just want to pull up, because Pine and Merrimack is the 4th issue came out. You said it came out today, right?
From Boom. Yeah, it came out today.
All right, so it launched. Okay. All right, so this oh man. Okay. This here. I think I can share I just want to, I like the art. The art in this is
really... Fran Galan is unbelievable. I met him. We worked on the Eisner nominated Creepshow Volume 1 anthology. He's unbelievably good. We did a story in that anthology, and he was so good. I was like, look how good he is. I was like, man, I'd love to sort of he does storytelling things as a sequential artist that are so next level. And he reached out. He was like, we should do another thing. And I was like, absolutely. He's like, I don't want to do horror or comedy. And I'm like, that's kind of what I do. And we did this, which is still kind of a horror comic. So he relented a little bit. But I would love to work with this artist for multiple books. I think he's so good. He's so professional, and he's so considerate of the form and the media. And it's great. It's great to work with someone who, there's a bit in issue 1. If any viewers have read it, you can applaud in the comments. But I did like, I do a lot of flashbacks in my work. It's just, I think it's shorthand for like telling you more about the characters. And it's in Karate Prom too. I'm sure, especially in chapter 3, there's a lot of flashbacks to sort of set up what's happening. But I love flashbacks, and he did this thing where it's like I think it was a 6-panel flashback, and he made it a montage. Like he just turned it into
cool.
a montage, and you can't ask for that. You know what I mean? You can't be like, let's make it a montage. But for them to go, what if I made it up? And he mirrors them. I don't know, man, he's great. Both of those books, and I say this again, I think I made pretty good books, but Fran and Ryan Brown just bring something so unique to both. Ryan Brown on Barfly, which is out the same time, I think. Rock Candy Mountain, June something. No, July 7th. I don't fucking know. I don't know dates. The art, it's like, and I'm not a big comic art guy. I probably know more comic artists, like we started talking about earlier. But dude, Ryan Brown, like, is all Easter eggs. And like, he's such a great illustrator, but it's all joke Easter eggs in every panel. It's just this like assault. But Fran is like, it's like poetry, man. Like it's beautiful. Fran's really good. I have a suspicion or a fear that he's gonna be gone after Pine Mirror. We're not gonna work again because he's gonna work for someone. He's gonna work for a Millar, or you know what I mean? Because that's what those guys do. Is like, who's the next guy?
Yeah.
I think sincerely, Fran is so good. He's gonna be, if he can do the superhero stuff, which I think he just did some Carnage, so I haven't seen, but I bet it's unbelievable. He's just got such a talent and such an eye for it.
Wow. I know I've kept you a while, Kyle, but real quick, I'm walking by your table at a con, and I see the Merrimack book. I stop. I see that art. I say, hey, what's this about, sir? Pitch me this new Boom series you got.
Oh, for Pine and Merrimack. Pine and Merrimack is about a happily married couple that sort of is doing cozy solving. They have boy. Let me start over. No, they're a happily married couple. They have like a private detective agency. They only do cozy cases. They take a case they shouldn't. It gets worse and worse and worse. The characters are, the wife is an ex-homicide detective who found that she simply could not handle being around murder. She despised murder and it made her physically ill. So she had to get out of that. Her husband is an ex-MMA fighter who's just sort of like a wife guy who sort of dotes on her all the time and would murder you with his fists. I love it. I basically, this is not the short, but it's basically a noir detective that becomes very horror-y, but it's with two people who love the shit out of each other. Like, okay. It's if the tech, if it wasn't Sam Spade, or there's just two people who just love the crap out of each other, and they're solving this murder that they never, which is classic. You know what I mean? They took the case they should have taken for whatever reason. I'm really proud of this. One of the things about Pine and Merrimack is that and I say this sincerely, I don't think anyone, I can't imagine anyone being able to make it work besides Fran, because I know when we were talking about Boom, they're like, oh, it's kind of like Hitchcock's Vertigo, because it's kind of a slow start. That what happens is it's like a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's a slow start, right? Okay. And so you have to love these characters. There has to be performance in these pages, and it's tough to do that. And Fran is, dude, he's like, these characters jump off the page. To me, the way he takes a shot,
beautiful.
It's beautiful, but so it's like, you know what happens in the first issue? Kind of nothing. You know what I mean? Like, kind of nothing happens. And in the second issue, kind of nothing happens. They're on an island. Spoilers, they're on an island. But the way that Fran is, like, he so fully understood, like, we're doing something a little bit different, which we're always trying to do something a little bit different. We want to be familiar but different. It's a noir, but it's got an ex-MMA guy and a detective who hates murder. What's that? Let's find out. But he got it. It's like, we have to see the way they look at each other, the way he draws Lenny and Parker looking at you, like they love each other so much. And that's the whole point. They do love each other so much. And I have artists that I work with who simply couldn't do it, which doesn't make them lesser than, because they're better at other things, right? Mm. But Fran was perfect for this, and I do think, like, I've been so lucky. I've said it so many times. I worked with only great artists. I dare say I think Fran's maybe the best. He just looks at things in a way. It's good, man. He's so good at acting and so good at making a scene and tone. And he colors himself, and he colors these books. Chris Schweitzer, who colored Karate Prom. This isn't me swinging around. But Chris Schweitzer has colored Rock Candy Mountain, Old Head, Karate Prom.
Oh wow.
He also drew. He also drew Mars Attacks and Six Ikes. But when he colors things, to me, I think he's one of the best there is at it, because his colors are scene based, and they set an emotional tone. And Fran does that too. Like, it's not fair. It's not fair that Fran does that too. His coloring, like, he just gets the atmosphere. I think those two books, more than any book I've ever done, no disrespect to any artist I've ever had, which is a Barfly and Pine and Merrimack, they're worth it for the art alone. They're literally worth it just to look at how friggin' pretty they are. Our Barfly, just like, Barfly is amazing. It's all Easter eggs. Ryan Brown is he's a font of creativity.
Yeah. I still remember reading God Hates Astronauts the first time, and just like, what in the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And then like I've tried to do every Kickstarter he's done. Like I got
Blast Furnace.
Yeah, I didn't get Blast. No, I didn't. I didn't get.
That was early. Blast Furnace was early. It was early. Yeah.
I tried to get it. I remember I had to. I fell into some financial troubles and had to adjust my pledge on one of them, because I think it was for the God Hates Astronauts. I was going to grab Blast Furnace and some of his older stuff. I ended up not being able to. But then I also did. I have the Curse Words omnibus that of mouse chewed on. So like, there's a strip down the cover, which kind of makes it too. I took a black Sharpie and tried to color it in to make it look better.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, so I was like, whatever, it's got character now. But I mean, yeah, I have like the old God Hates Astronauts trades, and he had to have his sketches in them. And yeah, he seems like a really cool dude. So does Charles. I haven't got to read their Genie book yet, but I've heard nonstop praise. Yeah.
Yeah. It's to me, it's a must read. I think it's literally one of the best. I feel like, but I think 8 Billion Genies, Pulp by Brubaker and Phillips, and Tom's and Bilquis's Supergirl. Like, those are the 3 best books I've read in the last 5 years.
I just read that Supergirl recently, and it's
unbelievably good. It's unbelievably good. Those 3 books. I mean, 8 Billion Genies is like nothing else. It's a work of genius. It's one of those things where you're like, no one else could have done this, and that seems like a thing that you could say commonly about comics, but I don't think it's true. There's some people that are singular voices, and sometimes those 2 singular voices come together in a way, and you just go, oh, holy smokes, like, there's nothing else like it. I think 8 Billion Genies it's just different than everything else. It's unbelievable. And Charles Soule is so smart. He just, like, guys who are really smart, when you read their stuff, you're like, wow.
You notice, yeah.
Wow, what's it like to be so smart?
Speaking of being smart, I say things how I see them sometimes. And so I used to just call him Charles Soleil, and
who knows if we're saying anyone's name correctly?
Well, I was corrected, not by him, but I said it I was talking to Christopher Sabella, actually. And I was like, yeah, like that Charles Soleil. And he was like, Charles what? And I was like,
yeah.
So, and he was like, Soul? And I was like, oh, is that it? But even now, like, I know, even though I know now, I still, like, when I talk about his books, sometimes I'm always scared it's going to slip out and I'm going to say it wrong. But yeah, no, he is smart, an intelligent writer, smart writer, makes great stuff. You've given me some homework, and I feel anybody watching this, I think we've given you a lot of good books to check out, both that are and aren't Kyle's. Well, of course yours, but yeah, I mean, I've not read your Mars Attacks books, and you've mentioned it several times and how proud of it you are, and I love that. I've never read any of the Mars Attacks comics, actually. I've always wondered how they were.
They're hit and miss, and I would say mine is barely Mars Attacks. Like, Mars Attacks is a backdrop to it. So it's one of those books where I think people would like it whether they liked Mars Attacks or not. Because basically, real quick, is that there's a card series. Do you know about the card series?
Yeah.
So Mars Attacks, the famous Tim Burton movie, is based on this card series that was very popular. Those cards are a sequential story. They are a story.
I didn't know that.
So basically, I set a story on top of those events sort of unfolding in the background. It's a father and son trying to fix their relationship as the Martians destroy the Earth.
Okay.
And I think it's one of those things where I go, you kind of want things to be very gender. You probably have to have some sort of dad issue a little bit, but if you have any, you'll really like Mars Attacks. And there's a dog in it. There's a dog named Butthead. But like for me, like that's one of the things where it's like, was I working through something? I don't know, but I think there's a strength because to me it's such a familiar. Maybe a lot of people have really good dads, and I envy that. But I think there's sort of a distance, no matter what.
Yeah.
At some point, you're trying to recover, and so I love that book. I think it's out of print. I think you can get it on Amazon. I don't know. Dynamite was not a great publisher. If we're gonna be honest, they didn't seem promoting that book.
Yeah,
which
it's you got a third party. You got a third party. I don't. I don't know if Dynamite stuff's on Hoopla or not, but
it's.
I'll find it.
I will say, hey, listen, almost everything we've said today is on Hoopla.
Yeah, a lot of it is.
I fully promote. I don't care where you read it. Everything I made was intended to be read. I wish you wouldn't pirate it. That's the one thing.
Yeah,
but I don't.
And you don't need to pirate. There's so many. You can read comics for free legally.
And I don't know. I don't know if anyone actually benefits financially from Hoopla. That's neither here nor there. But we made it. I mean, I made my stories to be consumed. I made them for people to read them, and it's like that's all I want. So if you go, I read it on Hoopla, I'm like, dope. I'm so glad you read it. I'm so glad you took time out of your day. I tried to respect your time to make them, like I said, I try to make them bouncy. I don't want it to be 4 days of reading one of my books. That sounds awful. Though certainly sometimes I love to read books for 4 days, but I want my stuff to be a quick experience, like a palate cleanser to your life, and to just give you a brief distraction. I think everything is on Hoopla. I don't think Mars Attacks is. I hope it is, because it is. I think Schweitzer's real funny because Schweitzer, he loves Karate Prom. That's why he colored it. And he loves the book Old Head I did. And he loves Rock Candy Mountain. But I'm always like, Mars Attacks, man, which we did together. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, no, dude. I'm telling you, it's like the best thing we've done. Six Sidekicks is great fun. Mars Attacks is like a perfect 4 issues to me. It's quick. It escalates. It has a great payoff. It has a moment that makes you cry, which is what I want in all my books. I want you to laugh for 3 issues, and then for me to pull the rug out from underneath you. I think everything I've done. I say quickly, I'm real proud of everything I've done, man. I think it's all good, and I think I'm a singular voice, which isn't to say I'm better or worse than anyone else, but I think, and you said it earlier, you can tell it's a Kyle Starks book, right? Like It's a little bit different than all the other books. And because of that, my thing is always like, I hope read one. Like if you read one and you like it, there's more. And you go, well, I only like teenage doing karate fights. It's like, I don't know, check out Assassination next. Because I bet you still like it if you like Karate Prom, because it's a bunch of people fighting.
Yeah.
And if you like that, then you move to the next thing. And if you go, what if there's only one Hitman? Like, did you read Sex Castle? You go, what if it wasn't Hitman at all? Read Rock Candy Mountain, or read Six Sidekicks, or read Old Head, or read just Peacemaker and Marvel Unleashed. Like, what do I care? I think those are great books. And that's the whole thing, is like we just try to make great things, and all we do, for me, I say we, I hope everybody who does these things that has a responsibility of entertaining, an audience, is that we made them to be consumed, to be entertainment, to take the weight off for a second. So yeah, read all of them. But also, if you haven't read JLI, gosh, you have to. If you haven't read 8 Billion Genies, gosh, read it. Holy smokes, those are 2 good ones. 8 Billion Genies is a very heavy idea that you bounce through pretty quick, which I like a lot.
And it's got a new Image hardcover, and Image hardcovers are my favorite things ever.
Oh yeah, everyone loves
nice.
That. I'm only going to do Image hardcovers. They're going to be like, what is it, 20 pages, Image hardcover? I'm like, yep, I got a plan.
You're like Ed and Sean do it. Well, I mean, they're not 20 pages, but they basically were like, we're not doing single issues anymore, and everything comes out in a hardcover. And Image was like, yeah, whatever you guys need, let's party.
Well, I think they sold. I mean, that's the secret.
They sell,
if you can find, but I don't know if I think I will say also, if you haven't read it, which is similar, it was a single Image hardcover, like Parasocial by Erica Henderson and Alex DeCampi, was amazing. I don't know how well I couldn't speak to how well. So I know Dracula Motherfucker sold really well. But I don't know how well those 80-page books sell. I'll tell you, I gotta go soon.
I know.
But creatively breaking things into 20-page chapters is a challenge.
Yeah.
Because it's such a small window where you go, well, what if I just did 4 issues without breaks? And then I don't have to worry about this page 20 every time. It just makes more sense from a storytelling angle, especially if right now the industry is all 4-issue miniseries, which sucks. We all hate it. But I would rather do an 80-page book than 4 20-page books, but you do what the industry, what the market supports.
Yeah.
So shout out to those guys. Also, like what if they only did 10-page internet? We'd all get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're
whatever
so good.
they did,
They can whatever format. Yeah, we're gonna get
go.
it. So it doesn't matter.
But yeah, I Kyle, this has been so fun for real, dude. I'm such a big fan of your work. I was so stoked to get to talk to you. I was so stoked with Karate Prom, dude. I had so much fun reading it. I really hope my enthusiasm. I hope people listening get excited about it like I did. I think it's really worth picking up. Super fun. Yeah, if you've ever had awkward interactions with women when you were younger, and if you're, if you want to think back on the prom and high school days, and yeah, some of them aren't great, but you know what? A lot of them were
not here though.
Nice
They're
times.
all good. Karate
Nice
Prom
times.
is good. Karate Prom is good. It's all happy.
It's happy. And there's some twisted, dislocated, broken bones and fisticuffs.
Listen, we all get hurt. Yeah. We all get hurt. We all have things to overcome.
That's
we all
true.
have obstacles.
That's true.
Yeah,
all right.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm for real. Anytime if you ever have a new book or want to come back on the show, man, always happy to have you. I think we covered most of your new stuff you got coming out. Do you have a newsletter or like best place to follow you? Anything like that you want to shout out?
No, I'm the Kyle Starks on almost every social media. I have a page. I say when stuff's coming out. I'm not as active as I should be on any of those things. I'm busy doing the work,
Yeah.
So I'm the Kyle Starks. KyleStarks.com. I have some books for sale. Buy it from a bookstore. Honestly, don't buy it from me. Go to your family-owned comic shop or local bookstore and buy it.
There you go.
I do a sticker club through Patreon. That's the same as Kyle Starks.
You don't have any Mars Attacks on your store, do you?
I don't, and the reason why I don't is because I have shows coming up, and the comps are sort of priceless. I need to. I also just Kill Them. We're tangenting, but Kill Them All got optioned, and it's a book I haven't carried for a long time because the publisher I felt like charged me too much to carry it. I just got a bunch of those, so that book is sort of in because it got optioned. And Samuel Hargraves, who did Extraction, the Extraction movies for Netflix, is been tagged to direct it. So that's probably, and I got a bunch of them really cheap. So I guess I have stuff I should be putting on the site, but buy from a store, man. Go to the store. It won't be signed, but listen, you'll see me at some point. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere all the time. So wherever you are in the continental U.S., I'll probably be close-ish at some point in time.
Nice. I'll try and keep an eye out for you if you're ever in the. Well, you said you're in the Midwest. I'm in Kansas City. But yeah, man, it was so fun chatting with you. All your stuff, you got great stuff out. So many good books. Very excited to see what you start doing at the big two and bringing that Kyle Starks charm into some of the stuff there, man. I'm excited to see what you do. Again, I appreciate it. Everybody who watched tonight, really appreciate you all. If you're watching this later, got to make sure you grab this guy's books, and Karate Prom is so good. And if I can there's the button. All right, everybody, thank you so much.
May 7th. May 7th.
May 7th, Karate Prom. Have a wonderful night, everybody.